Welcome to Frances Quilts, the site dedicated to the wonderful art of quilting, with a few other fun things thrown in as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be notified of future videos. Hey guys, welcome back to Frances Quilts. Today we are on blocks 9 and 10 of 12 ways to quilt a sawtooth star, so only one more set of blocks to go. I'm excited to show you the blocks today. We have one with straight lines and one with some curvy lines. If you are new to this challenge, I would encourage you to go to my website, which is francesquilts.com. Click on the Challenges tab and then follow down to Sawtooth Star. And you'll find all the resources and all the previous videos and everything that you'll need to start this challenge. So without further ado, let's head to the drawing board. Our first block for this week is going to be our straight line block. And when you look at this design, you may think, wow, that is super hard to do. But I think if we draw a few guidelines in that will help us find our way, and we're going to be using straight lines and dot to dots, I think it'll find it pretty easy to do. The first guidelines that I'm going to put in are the ones from corner to corner here on all of these blocks, these outside corners. Next, I'm going to come into the center of the block and I'm going to do a guideline across here and across the other diagonal as well. Now finally, I'm going to come out a distance from this center and do the same distance on all sides. And I'll give you a measurement when I actually sit down to quilt it and let you know what that measurement's going to look like. But I think that one needs to be over a little bit more. But anyway, just gives you a place that it's going to cross on all four of those lines. Then finally, I need two sets of guidelines in each of these triangles here. So one that is fairly close up here, and then another one that's a little ways down. And don't sweat this too much. If you want to measure them in, you certainly can do that. You can also just eyeball them. Honestly, I probably will end up doing a little bit of measuring so that I have them a little more even. So those are our guidelines, and now we're ready to actually start quilting the block. For this block, let's start quilting in the center. I'm going to start from one corner, and I'm going to come up to the other corner like this. Now I'm going to be looking at this triangle right here, and I'm going to be doing a dot to dot sort of design in here. I'm going to do a straight line from here to this point. So it's going to come from here to here, well, close enough, and then back to this point right here, and then I'm going to come down to this this line in the center. Okay, so that's one side. Now we're going to do again. We're going to come from here all the way over to this line right here. So we'll stitch a line from here to here. Then we're going to come back over and hit that line, and then we're going to come back down to the point. So you see, each time we're using this triangle right here is what we're working on. We're going from the far corner to the far point over here. Over here. Then we're coming back to the point that we hit last time. And then we're coming back down to the corner. And then one last time, we'll come from here over to here. And then back to there. And then back to the corner. So we end up back where we started. Now, one thing that I didn't do in drawing this, but I think we definitely need to do, is when we're in these corners, we need to go ahead and do our dot-to-dot designs that we're putting in here. Now, someone showed me what they were doing on their dot-to-dots and said they were having trouble with them. And I found out that they were trying to start over here and do them this way. And I think that's a little bit harder to do. So I would encourage you to start in the center of that bow tie. You see there's kind of a bow tie design there. Start in the center there, go out, out and back, and then out, out and back. So again, every time we're quilting this design, we come to here and then back and then down to here. When we hit this area right here, hit that point, we're going to put these dot to dot designs in. Sorry I didn't draw them on the first time. That would have been helpful. So now we're ready to do all of these outside blocks. Unfortunately, we cannot do these without having either to break thread or to do some stitching in the ditch. We'll just see whichever one we decide to do. But the first thing we're going to do is start over here, and we are going to do a dot to dot design. We did this several weeks ago. We're going to be on the outside edge, and we're going to come over to this line right here and then back to the center here. So we have 4 things meeting in the center right there. It's going to look great. And then we're going to come back over here and then back up, hitting the point here. And then we'll do another one on the inside, dot to dot there. Another one coming up there where we're hitting the center. Now we are missing the center this time. We're coming back down to here. Now we need to get over to here. So we're going to do some ditch stitching to get to here. Now, this design we're going to make in 2 different passes. It's going to be very similar to what we did in here. We're going to start in this corner and we're going to aim for this point right here. So it's going to be a long line from here across to here. And now you guessed it, we're going to follow along that guideline that we have and bring it back to there. And then we're going to come all the way back down to this point. So we're going to come all the way down here. Now that's one of them done. Let's do it again. Now we're going to take this one and come across to this point right here. So we've got here, we're going to come across to here. Then we're going to come across this line that we have to right here. And then we're going to come back down again. I think what I need to do in this case is I need to have these guidelines be a little bit further down. Those are too close together. But let's keep going. So we're back here. We're going to, again, do some stitching in the ditch to get back to here, to this corner. We're going to do this, touch the dot, miss it, touch the line, miss the line, back down. Let's do it again. If you get into it and you decide that you need to do it more than 2 times, you can do it 3 or 4 times, however many times you want. We get back to this corner and we're going to come here. Again, we're going to come from this point right here all the way across to that top one. So we'll come here, across like that. Then we're going to follow that line that we drew over to there, and we're going to come back down to this corner. Oops, let's come this direction, back down to this corner. Now we're going to come from here to this line right here, where that first line we drew crosses our guideline. We'll come to there like that, over to here, and then back down again. Let's do it one more time. We'll ditch stitch all the way to this corner. We're going to start at the point. We're going to miss the point here. So we're going to come in here, that dot to dot. Now the next one, we're going to hit the point. Now we're going to miss that line, and then we're going to hit the point again. Let's come in and do it one more time, or 2 more times, or however many often you want. We're going to come down here. Now we're here. We're coming from here to a point on this line right here. Oh, sorry, to that point right there. So we're going to come from here all the way over there, back, across, and then we're going to come out again, hitting that point, there to there, back, and back down to where we started. Again, I think that when it's a larger piece of fabric that we'll be working on, and when we spread those out just a little bit more, it's going to look a lot better. But I love this area in here, the fact that we can do that so easily. Honestly, if we get in here and find out that that isn't filled up enough, we could even come in and do another dot to dot in there. We may have to do that. I'll look at it and see once I actually start quilting. So let's go to the machine and see how it looks. You can see here that I have my guidelines marked and I'm ready to start my quilting. I did decide to come out 1.5 inches from this point to where my first guideline was going to be right here. 1.5 out to here, 1.5 here, and 1.5 here. You see there's some other little lines there. That's because I originally thought 1.25, but then I decided that 1.5 would be better. So let's start quilting. Let's get this dot to dot out of the way up here, and then we will start doing this inside design. So remember, our first line in our design is going to go from this point all the way over to this point right here, the 1.5 inch mark. So let's do that line. Close enough. So now we're going to come back straight across to this 1.5 inch mark here. do one more stitch. Okay, and now we're going to come from that point back down into this corner. So then our next step is we're here in this corner, so let's do our dot to dot. All right, now we're coming from this corner all the way across to the marking that we have on this other line over here. So we'll put it down and go. Stopping on that line. Now we're going to come back across to this marker that we have here. And then back down to this corner. All right, let's repeat that 2 more times and we'll be finished with the inside section. And oops, did you see that I forgot to quilt this when I was over there? So at some point when I'm doing these dot to dots, I'll jump in there and take care of that. Now, we finished that center section and I have now moved my needle out to the outer edge here. If you look at this design in here and say, wow, that looks like it has been stitched before, that is because I lost my mind when I was going along and I started stitching the design for the second block rather than for this particular block. So I had to do quite a bit of ripping out. I turned off the video so you didn't have to be subjected to that. But now we are in place to be able to start doing our quilting all around these edges and coming back. So remember, from this corner, we're going to start in the corner and we're going to do a dot to dot coming out to at some point along this line. Okay, when we hit that line, now we're going to come back up to the point here. And the same thing, we're going to come back over here to some point along this line. And again, if you want it to be a little more accurate, you could actually put some registration lines if you wanted to. So now we're going to come back and actually hit that point. And now let's come inside. We're going to come into here. And back up to the center. Back to here. And then back down to the point. All right, now that we're here, we want to ditch stitch to get to this point right here. Now you may wonder why I use the ruler for ditch stitching, and I don't always, but if I'm doing a long stretch like that, it's very easy to use because you can kind of create almost a channel here that you're gonna be sewing along. And if you start feeling like you're getting out or in one way or the other, you can just kind of nudge that ruler a little bit, and it really does make it easier to stitch in the ditch. So let's go down. All right, now we're ready for the fun stuff. We're going to come from here to this point over here. Alright, now we're going to follow this guideline back to here. And then one more time down to this point. Now let's go again. We're going to come from here to where this line intersects with this line that we've sewn. So we're going from here to that intersection right there. And then we're going to come back to the same place where this drawn line that we have intersects with this sewn line that we've already done. And then the final step, we're going to come from here back to that point that we started from. You saw I had to nudge that one in place a little bit. To get to our next section, we're going to stitch in the ditch around here. And we'll start the dot to dot process again. I'm going to continue around the block, remembering hopefully on this far corner over here to stop and do my dot to dots in the center here. So let's go. I didn't have to stitch around that last in the ditch area, but I thought since I had gone around every other portion of the quilt or of the block, it would be a good idea to go ahead and stitch around that one as well. So let's have a look. I really like how these look. They look extremely complicated. They're going to look even more complicated when I have erased all the blue lines, but you could see they were actually very easy to do. I love the way this block looks. It's very sleek looking with these designs in here. And it was actually very simple to do. We just had to draw those guidelines in. If you wanted to, you could do some additional quilting in some of these open areas. You might do a filler design in here or even in that center square. Just however you wanted to do it. But I think it turned out looking very good, and it was an easy block to do. So that's another one finished. For block number 10, we're going to do something similar to this. We're going to do a symmetrical floral-ish design in the center. I'm planning to use a ruler. I want to show you how that works. We're going to put some straight lines in here, and obviously we probably will need to draw some guidelines along there just to get us started. And then at some point when we are close in here, if we're doing these designs in through here and we get close in here, we're going to stop and put those in. If you forget it, we're just going to put them in and then travel over here to the next one and do those. It's not going to be a problem. We just want to be sure that we get those in there. So let me show you what I'm going to be using to do this center design. So let's have a closer look at the ruler that I'm going to be using. This is a Westerly spinning ruler, and there are some markings on here that are going to be very important to us as we go. First of all, you'll see that there is a tiny little pin dot right there, and I'll show you how we're going to use that in a minute or two. But the markings that I want you to see are these lines right here. There's an A line that runs right there and a B line that runs right there. And then the final one is just the straight line that runs from here and all the way up to here. You can see this line also continues to there, and this line continues to there. I don't think we'll need that particular part, but we do need to mark these A's and B's right here. Those are going to be important for us to know how they're going to work. I'm going to actually draw this out for you in the real size that it's going to be so you can see how it's going to work. I have added some guidelines here, just here and here. Those are guidelines that I will mark with my washout pen. I now have my thumbtack, and I'm going to put it right in the center, coming up underneath the quilt and putting it right in the center. So I have that little point coming up there. I'm going to take my ruler and carefully line it up on that pin, and now the ruler can spin around all the way around. Let's put our little jigsaw piece in here, and we're ready to go. I'm going to be using this little device as I'm showing you this because remember, when I'm quilting in this ruler, I'm going to actually be quilting 1/4 of an inch inside that design, and this ruler, if I put my pin in there, will give me a 1/4 inch inside so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to start out initially at line B. So that's point B right there, and I'm going to bring this over and put my needle down there, and I'm going to quilt all the way around it. So here we go, around, that didn't work initially, around and back. I'm going to stop at point B. Now remember that the needle is going to be down, the ruler foot's going to be there, so it's not going to be moving. And I'm going to now take this and spin this around until the point of my needle is lined up with that A marking again. So I'm going to go around. I'll start here. I'll go all the way around from here and back to A. Now before I move anything, I'm going to come back to the B. So I'm lined up with the B line again. Same thing. Needle's going to stay in place, and I'm going to spin the ruler till it's lined up with the A again. So I'll come in here and I'll do another one. Like this, and come all the way across to the B point again. Needle's in place. I'm going to slide it until I get the A line lined up with it. Okay, let's go again. Okay. Now this time I've lined up the A, I have to come back to the B. Remember, you're always going to be stopping on the B mark and then moving your ruler around to where the A mark hits it. around, back to A, and then back over to B. Now let's do one more here. Let's swing it around till we've got the A in line. And now look, we have lined it up well because this line right here is matching that line going through. So that is what we wanted it to look like. So now we can do this next one. Around, over to A, back to B. And we just continue doing that all the way around until we have this fun design in the center. Now, if you do not have a ruler similar to this, you can try lots of different rulers. Any ruler that has a cutout like this can easily be turned into something, a design such as this. If you don't want to do that, then go back and do what I had here originally, which was just a freeform flower. You can do whatever you want in that center. Just do something that is floral, that's geometric, something like that. The final thing that we need to remember as we are doing these corners and these in here is that as we are coming along here and putting our designs in, you know, we may have to do a little bit of stitching in the ditch to come back up to here. When you're doing these designs, first of all, remember when you get to that center in there, you're going to put in that. And then when you get to these designs, try to work them so that they end up in the opposite corner. So we're going to start this one. We're going to do our designs in through here till we end up at the opposite corner. Here I would probably go ahead and put in these lines next. Then do a stitch in the ditch back to here, and again start doing my whatever designs I decide to use, ending up on this corner. As I quilted this second block, I decided in my filler design to use a Loopy Meander. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about how you do that. You know what a basic meander is, where you're just moving all over the page or all over the quilt. A Loopy Meander, you come in and you meander and then you do a loop, and then you come over and you do another loop. And it ends up looking something like this. You can do them very close together. You can do them far apart. Now the main thing that you want to see here is that every time I do a loop, I did it to the right. I did it clockwise that way. The next one is going to be counterclockwise. And that really helps you because it means that you can move around very easily. If I want to come up here, I can do that. If I need to go back the other direction, I can do that. And when I did this in the quilting, I also made some of the loops bigger. So if I was coming along here, I might come in here and do a great big loop here. And then I might come around here and just do some loops around the outside of it like that. And if I need to cross over something, it's not going to hurt. I'm just going to come around here and keep going. But it's just a very comfortable meander design to do, and it goes really quickly. Let's do another big one, and then let's start doing some little ones around it. But it will fill in that design very, very quickly. So I just wanted to show you that to give you a little bit more information before you start quilting. As we begin quilting on this second block, the first thing we're going to do is take our pin, our thumbtack, and we're going to stick it from the bottom up, trying to come through at that point in the center. So with the ruler now on the pin, let's slide our foot inside and close this little gate that we have right there. Remember, we are going to line up this line here and this line up here with the line that we have drawn, with the guideline that we've drawn. And we're going to come down here and just start somewhere in here and stitch around this from start to finish. Here we go. We're going to cross over where we had gone before, and we are going to go back to the B mark on the ruler. Now we're going to swivel this ruler around until the A mark lines up with my needle, and we're going to make this round again. Again, go past where we did before and then come back to the B mark again. Swivel to where it's matched up with the A mark and quilt. So now we're back where we started. Let's pull it out and we can see this, this nice design in the center here. So now we have broken thread and moved to this outside border. We're going to start with drawing our line straight across. All right, I'm ready to do my filler design in this part. Remembering when I get up here, I'm going to just kind of zip up top and put those lines in. I want to end up on this side. That will work well, I think. So I'm going to start doing my design. I think I'm going to do pebbles, and I may try to put in some larger pebbles. It will take less time and maybe give it a little more interest. So we'll see how that goes. But remember, when I get in here, I'm going to do those. And then I'm going to end up on this other side over here. So I'm trying to make my pebbles travel that direction. So here we go. Now these pebbles are turning more into loops rather than pebbles, but I'm okay with that. It will be faster as well. Yes, that did turn into a loopy meander, but it's so much faster, so I'm pleased that I ended up that way. Again, I have a few larger ones along with some smaller ones, and I will keep doing that as I go along. Now the next step is to sew 1 down, 2 down, 3 lines. End up here, then we're going to sew in the ditch and then start doing our pebble meander, whatever we decide to do in here. So I'm just going to stitch down a little bit along the ditch. Grab my ruler and put in a line. So I'm going to come back just a little. Stitch down a little bit more and put in another line. And down a little more. And one last line across in the ditch. And now let's have fun filling up this area with our Loopy Meander and maybe some pebbles or whatever you want to do. Block number 10 was a lot of fun to do. I love the loopy meanders in here with these larger bubbles showing up. And I love this design in the center. Now I know some of you don't have access to a ruler like that, but I just encourage you to put some sort of flowery design in there. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That was a rough session for me. I had a thread break. I ran out of bobbin thread at one point. I quilted something wrong and had to take out huge sections of it. So I'm just glad at this point to say that those 2 blocks are finished. We have 2 more to go. Join me next week as we finish up those last 2 blocks, and then the week after that we'll talk about borders and sashing, and then we're going to call this Sawtooth Star quilt finished. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francisquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Francis Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.